As I come to share with you the books that have been keeping my attention and keeping me company, I'm realizing this is probably like a really bad idea because I am not going to be able to really give you guys the depth of these books because I'm doing so much at one time. Actually, I'm going to take this one out because I'm actually still in process of this, but I'll talk to you guys about this book really quickly too. But I've been reading, y'all. That's how I'm spending my time. I'm spending my time wrapped up under the covers, in books, on the train, on the way home, when I'm in the car and not the one driving, of course. I've been really into a couple of stories, and the stories are, I mentioned journeying, and I've talked to you guys about my journey and my Locke journey and how it's like really a part of my life journey, how I feel like I'm kind of rediscovering myself and finding myself in the process. I'm going back to things that I loved and I enjoyed, which included reading. So I have been like really jumping into a lot of books that have been falling into my lap, and I'm finding that for some crazy and odd reason, it's not crazy and odd. I feel like it's just like the rules of magic, which or one of the books that will be reading. It's the Rules of Magic. When you look for something, you seek it out, you will find it. And for some reason, the universe is putting books into my hand that are telling me stories that I can connect with on so many different levels. And I don't know if I'm connecting with them because I'm digging into them and I'm finding a connection, but they're kind of reinforcing life lessons. They're reinforcing experiences that I have and that I want to have and that I want to remember. And all of the books that I've been picking in some way or another have really been speaking to me in really small and huge ways. And I'm so thankful and appreciative of that. It almost makes it so much more better reading these books than just reading them for the sake of reading them, because I'm finding a purpose and a storyline, and I'm finding myself intertwined into the pages. So I want to talk to you guys about the 4 books that I have just finished reading. And I've been reading these 4 books I would say, over the last 3 weeks to a month. And I'm not going to go in order of when I've read them. And some of them, I wish I would have probably done a book review or a book haul on them one by one, because I could have spent more time telling you guys the details of the books and the things that I've pulled out. But I'm probably going to spend more time on others over others, and we'll just see how that pans out in this video. And cross your fingers I even post this mess. How about that? So, book number 1 is Bluebird, Bluebird. It is by Attica Locke. Attica Locke is actually one of the producers and writers for Empire. I had no idea or never heard of her until I read this book. And in just the back page where she gives her autobiography, or a little small autobiography about the author, is when I realized that she has written for Empire. She is an amazing writer. She has pulled together this story in such a way that I feel like it's amazing how she's able to kind of like go in and out of time periods and really build up the characters. And I really appreciate that about writers, like being able to make you aware of the things that push their characters, what motivates them. And this story is about a Texas Ranger named Darren Matthews. It is also about a woman who owns a little cake or bakery shop / cafe on the side of the highway or Highway 59 in Texas. And it really is a story of how they meet, how their lives intertwine, and it's also a story that is very much on time because it's very racially charged and politically charged. There's a lot of like little things in the story that you can kind of say, oh, we're here right now. And it just read very, very well. So the story kind of starts off, and I don't like to give away a good story. I actually hate when people give away stories to me, so I'm not going to do that to you guys. So I'll just kind of talk to you about like the first 2 chapters, and I would highly recommend this book. But the story starts off with Darren Matthews, who is a Texas Ranger. Texas Rangers, I didn't know, was actually a real group of people, and I wanted to do a little bit more research on them, but then I jumped into another book, so I'm probably going to have to end up doing that at some point, or if you guys want to, look them up. But the Texas Rangers are, in this story, a group of of men and women who are in law enforcement, and they're called in by local law enforcement agencies to help solve mysteries or help them solve crimes when they're just either needed because they're understaffed, or they're needed because they're bringing a different spin, or a they're not like as involved or connected to it, so they can kind of have like a hand, not a hands off, what's the word I'm looking for, they can be objective. So Darren Matthews is a Texas Ranger who is having some trouble with his wife. His wife would have loved for him to be a lawyer. He went to law school, and she is, the kind of woman who's like, oh, you could have been a lawyer. Why are you being a police officer? She doesn't really get it. So she's not really supportive of his decision to be a Texas Ranger. But in the beginning of the book, Darren is called by one of his friends to his house because there is a guy who's a part of like a white supremacist group who has been kind of like terrorizing the neighborhood. And he finds himself at old boy's house and terrorizing his granddaughter, and he pulls out a gun on him and calls Darren to the scene because he's about to pop dude. Basically, pretty much in a nutshell. She writes it very more sophisticated than how I'm telling you guys, but just follow me, follow the story. Anyway, so Darren is called to the guy's house, and he finds himself in the man's driveway. His friend who has called him is basically in a stare off with the guy, and he's trying to talk him off the ledge, like, please don't do this, don't shoot him, let him go, we can go the legal route, just leave it alone. And so after he convinces him to put the gun down, and the gentleman who's a part of the white supremacist group leaves and goes home and all that other jazz, a couple days later, the guy is found dead, and they're basically putting his friend on trial for this crime. So Darren is called to the witness stand because he was there. I don't believe he reported, if I can remember, I don't think he reported the incident. So he's really being asked a couple of questions about his involvement, about whether his friend could possibly be involved in the murder of this guy. And Darren is like, listen, he's a part of this group of people who are known to be involved in drugs, known to be involved in criminal activity. There's no proof that my friend did it. They're trying to find the murder weapon. All this other stuff is going on. But all that is happening at the same time when one of Darren's friends, another friend of his who went to school with him, who has also a connection to the Texas Rangers, calls him to visit a town in Texas, a small town, where a young black man has washed up into the bayou behind a bakery shop that's owned by a woman who, what's her name? She owns a restaurant, and the gentleman washes up into the backyard. He's dead. He washes up, so he's dead, like dead. And his body is so bruised and battered that they feel like there could be like some racial motivation behind this murder. And when the lady who owns the bakery, why don't I know her? Why am I forgetting her name? Let me see if I can pull it up real quick. The lady who owns the bakery is basically like she has like a background in this type of thing. Her husband and her son, some things have happened to them. I don't want to tell the story. I'm not going to give it away. But everyone's trying to figure out what happened to this guy. The local law enforcement doesn't come rushing to figure out what's happened to the black guy until maybe 2 days later, a young white woman washes up, and then everyone is like, we got to figure this out. So Darren, while they're focusing on what's happened to the white girl, Darren comes in and he's trying to put all the pieces together, and he thinks there's a connection between the two. So the story kind of like goes into so many different loops and twists and turns. The gentleman who was washed up, his wife comes into town, and she's trying to figure out what happened to her husband, and her and Darren kind of like, build a kind of relationship because she confesses to Darren that she wasn't very supportive of his career, and so Darren feels like, there's some connection there with his wife, and the story is just like, it's really good. There's some twists and turns, but Bluebird by Attica I think is a very, very good read. I really enjoyed reading this story a lot. Okay? So that's that. That's one of the books that I've been reading. The other book is Akata Witch by Nnedi Okorafor. Not exactly sure how I came across this book, but it was like really, really on time. And it was really, really on time because these two books, which have nothing to do with each other, I read them literally at the same time together, and I do that a lot with a lot of books. But Braving the Wilderness by Brene Brown, The Quest for True Belonging, and The Courage to Stand Alone. You can tell I enjoyed this book because I literally took all these notes on all these pages. And what I liked about both of them, or reading them both together, that they really told a story that I felt like was right on time for me, and a story that I believe was kind of similar in that they're both guiding. This is not an auto, it's more of like an autobiography, a self-help kind of book, and this is a fiction book, Akata Witch. But both of them, reading them both together was for me, I was in a good place to read them because I have been in and always will be in the path of self-discovery and understanding myself, and the quest for true belonging and the courage to stand alone is a space that I can definitely relate to, because I've always felt like I always felt a little bit different, a little bit odd, and I think that's put me throughout my life in a path where I'm trying to figure out, like, where do I fit in? And this book just kind of reconfirmed the path that I've been on lately, where I've decided that I don't got to fit in anywhere. I can just completely and truly be myself. And so this story by Brene Brown is, she is a white woman who tells her story of growing up in a time where segregation had just ended, schools were unsegregated, and she opens up the story just keeping it real and saying that she always struggled with her identity. She never knew where she fit in, and she went to school in a time period where she was her name is really what she goes off of. Her name, she tells a story about her name kind of making the parents of the children in her class confused about whether she was a black girl or she was a white woman. You got to read it to really understand where she's going, but there's so many different gems in this book. There's so many pieces that she talks about and she pulls out that I feel like are just like, you have to read this. Like, you have to read this. The price is high, the reward is great. So this is a quote that she quotes by Dr. Angelou. It says, "You are only free when you realize you belong no place. You belong every place, no place at all. The price is high, the reward is great." This book, I think that this book actually deserves like its own review. So I'm going to stop right here talking about this one, because it needs its own time. Like, going through the story and reading it is confirmation. If you're struggling with your self-identity, if you're struggling with not fitting in, if you're struggling with really trying to carve your own lane and make your own path, this is a book that you should read. It will give you the strength and the confirmation that you need to say, it is okay to be different. It is okay to walk the untrodden and beaten path. It is okay to set your own trail. And it is okay to use some of your experiences through your life, the things that make you angry, the things that make you upset, your childhood, your current life, a bad relationship, a bad experience, to kind of catapult you forward. It really gives an outline to how you can change your circumstances and you can change the world by being exactly who you are, by taking the things that people can't handle, the things and the moments in your life that you're trying to like wrap your mind around, and they make you feel like you are different and you are set apart from everyone else. How you take those experiences and really say, yeah, I am different. Everyone has a different path. Everyone has different experiences. Everyone has different things that they go through that make them passionate about a cause, whether it's social, political, religious, whether it's just, an emotional cause that you're taking up, whether it's a career path that you've chosen because of certain things that have happened in your life. We all have those seeds that are planted in our life that make us who we are. And because our seeds are all different, there's no reason why we should be the same. And this book really, really just dives into that in a way that I was so thankful when I read it. And it was so perfectly timed because when I read Akata Witch, which is about a young lady who discovers that she's different from her classmates, she doesn't fit in with the people in her school. She doesn't fit in with friends. There's people who are always picking on her. And then one day she discovers that she has these special powers. And she finds a group of people who are like her, not because she's been searching for them and she's been looking for a way to fit in, but because she's identified that she is different. And because she's accepted that she's different, because she's really not trying to fight that, she ends up with people who are different like her. So the reading them both together was just like an aha moment for me. It was almost like another confirmation that when I look for something, I'm gonna find it. When I'm in a space to accept certain ideas that are going on in my head, it was just like confirmation for me to really, really say wait a minute, I am and have been going through many transitions in my life. And I've been in a space where I'm just I feel a little bit uncomfortable. And that discomfort is, I feel, a part of my next level, the level up. And sometimes you can't hide from that. You have to just embrace that discomfort. And reading these books at the same time was just confirmation for me that I can embrace this discomfort that I'm feeling. And it's not necessarily a bad thing. It's just what I need right now to go to the next level. And I can't hide from that. And when I really was honest with myself about that discomfort, I realized there have been many times in my life where I've hid from being different because it just felt uncomfortable. I just didn't feel right, not fitting in, and how that really changed me in ways that I should have figured this out and been more comfortable with myself a long time ago if I really was just honest with I don't have to be like anybody else. So I'm going to come back to Braving the Wilderness because I really want to be able to go through and pull out. There's so many little tabs that I have in here that I want to really talk to you guys about. So I'm going to come back and do something really quick about Braving the Wilderness because this is definitely a must read, and I have to come back and tell you guys why, because I will talk about the little tidbits in here, but if you don't go and get this book and read it page for page, it's just not gonna be enough. So let's hold on to that. And then the last book that I just finished reading, literally today, is Practical Magic by Alice Hoffman. Alice Hoffman also wrote The Rules to Magic. I think it is the sequel. It is the sequel to Practical Magic, but I really enjoyed reading this book too. And it kind of ties together the whole being different thing because it talks about a group of witches and a family of just women with super magical powers. And Akata Witch is really about a girl and a young girl and her friends who also have magical powers. And in my mind, I feel like I have magical powers too. So it was fun to read. And this book was an easy read too. My daughter, who is only 8 years old, she'll be 9 in a week, she read this book. And she's a really good reader, and she's definitely reading above her grade level. But she read this book and she enjoyed it. I thought that it was a good book for her to read because it really talks about being different and accepting that difference. And I thought that it would be good for her to kind of jump in it and read it too. And she enjoyed reading it. Right, Kennedy?
Yes, Mama.
Did you like reading Akata Witch?
Yeah.
Was it good? Yeah, she enjoyed reading Akata Witch too, by Nnedi Okorafor. So I would recommend it. I know I said that I had my daughter read it, but it really is, it's an easy read, and that's why I had her read it. There wasn't anything too grown up in this book or inappropriate. So, but the message itself is what I enjoyed, and it kind of did tie back again to braving the wilderness, like being different and standing on your own. And who doesn't want their child to read something like that? So I allowed her to read this book and she enjoyed it. So Practical Magic, as I mentioned, I'll just read the back cover for you guys so you know what this is about. So for more than 200 years, the Owens women have been blamed for everything that has gone wrong in their Massachusetts town. Jillian and Sally have endured that fate as well. As children, the sisters were forever outsiders, taunted, talked about, pointed at. Their elderly aunts almost seemed to encourage the whispers of witchery with their musty house and their exotic concoctions and their crowd of black cats. But all Jillian and Sally wanted was to escape. One will do so by marrying, the other by running away, but the bonds they share will bring them back almost as if by magic. This was a really good read. I love the way that Alice Hoffman reads. My sister she writes. My sister is reading The Rules of Magic. She just finished that, so we're going to swap these books. She read the second one first. I'm reading the first one first because I was actually reading Akata, which when she started reading Rules of Magic, and we thought that it was so like interesting that we were both reading books about like witches at the same time. And I'll come back to that because I think that there's so many things that are tying in to each other, including my family relationships. Like everything is like right on time. Like everything is happening right on time. My steps are so ordered, and I'm realizing that more and more every single day that my steps are ordered. And it's even falling down to the books that I'm choosing to read or the books that are coming to me, how ordered my steps are. So Practical Magic by Alice Hoffman, a wonderfully written story. Alice Hoffman writes like no other. Like she puts so much details in a sentence. The way that she writes a sentence, it's like just one sentence. You feel like you could stop right there. Like, how did you say that? Like, how did you throw that all together in just like a sentence or a paragraph? Like her characters are so rich and they're so intoxicating. Like you want to know more about them. There's so many layers and levels to her characters, and even the way that she gives the details about the rooms that they're in and the smells and the potions that they're putting together and the things that they're doing. You can see it. Like you can really see that this is happening and these things are real. And I don't know how much of her concoctions and the stories and potions that she puts together in this book are pulled from things that might be old wives' tales, because they're just so detailed that you wonder if like this thing is like, is this real? Did these things happen, or could they have happened, or does she know a witch? You know, it's like really, really a good, a well-written book, and I'm glad that my sister recommended this book to me because I really enjoyed reading it. So those are the 4 books that are were on my reading list. I also am reading another one that was recommended to me by my mentor, my professional mentor, that I'm not finished with. And it's kind of harder for me to go through this book because it is like a very professional and career-driven book. And I'm almost finished, but I'm taking my time with it because I enjoy reading the nonfiction and the novels more than everything else. I feel like it's almost like reading a textbook, like a well-written textbook, but it is like reading a little textbook. It's called Leadership Presence: Dramatic Techniques to Reach Out, Motivate, and Inspire. So I'll talk about this one a little bit when I finish this, and I think this would be a good book for anyone in corporate America, anyone starting a business, anyone leading a group, anyone who is looking to mentor other people, who is a mentor or a mentee. This Leadership Presence by Belle Linda Halpern and Kathy Lubar is a really, really good book to read. I'm enjoying reading it, but I also feel like there's so many things in this book that naturally I've been drawn to. So it's another book that's a confirmation for me that I'm on the right path. But I'll share details of this book with you guys as well once I finish reading it. And as I mentioned, I'm going to come back and do something on Braving the Wilderness, go a little bit deeper, and I have to send it back to the library, so I need to do that like ASAP. But yeah, so my hair, my locks. So 4 years locked. And I'm talking a lot about my journey and where I am in my journey and the things that I feel like I've been experiencing. But I want to just take a quick second. This video is going to be like super duper long. I wanted to take a quick second just to kind of like do a call out for something that I've noticed, and it's a part of my reading, it's a part of my spiritual and emotional journey. But one of the things that I noticed with my locks is just the length of it and how much I could not wait to get to this length. This was like the length that I remember when my hair was short, like really short and neck length, that I said, "Oh, I can't wait to get here." And I have to talk to you guys about that for a second because it kind of is one of those things where I'm recognizing just how much timing and rushing time has been playing into my journey, the slowing down of time, and just the idea of being patient and taking things day by day. I know a lot of you have subscribed to my channel for my lock journey, and if you're watching this video, you're probably wondering, like, what is she talking about? Why are we doing book reviews? Why are we talking about books? And it's a part of me, and my locks are a part of me. The journey was started not to just have locks in my head, but to hold on. And I just remember starting my lock journey and thinking, I can't wait for certain things, and time is gonna go by quickly. I can't believe that my locks are 4 years long, or I've had my locks for 4 years. And now that it's 4 years and it's hit this length, which is a length that I feel like, show you guys the back of it, which is a length that ironically I feel like it probably it should be longer, but it isn't. And I'm almost thankful for that because, and I say that to say this. Maybe at one point I'll give you guys a little bit more detail about some of the things that are going on in my personal life, but I feel like it's very ironic that I could not wait to get to this length and just what the things that have been happening in my life as I've reached this length. I'm not ready. I'm not ready for certain things like that are happening right now, and at the same time, I'm also embracing certain things that are happening, and I'm growing. I'm stretching. It's an uncomfortable stretch, but it is a necessary stretch. And to think that that I'm doing this at a length that I literally said I can't wait to get here. I almost feel like I could have waited. Like I could have waited to get here. I'm not running from growth at all. Growth comes in different forms. It comes when you least expect it. It comes when you aren't looking. It comes when you're paying attention. It comes when you welcome it. It comes when you don't. And it comes in different forms that you may or may not want them to come in. And not just with your locks. I think locks, it's hair, it's going to grow, and you'll see yourself, with different hairstyles. You see yourself in a different place, but there's so much else going on in life beyond hair and beyond these locks that I'm like, I could have waited. I could have waited for certain things, but I'm thankful and I'm appreciative, not just for my steps being ordered, but for the fact that I'm able to recognize when growth is happening, and I'm able to embrace them. I could not have imagined being at this length and going through certain things and being as calm and as even tempered as I am or have been being. And I don't know. I'm thankful for that. So with embracing the journey and with trying to grow, you got to embrace every level, and you have to embrace every stage, the ugly stage, the stage that you can't wait to get to, and just go with the flow. Like, time is going to pass anyway. You're going to get to every stage and every level that you need to get to, but you have to earn it. And when you get there, you should be prepared for what it takes, the responsibilities that come with getting to every level that you want to get to. And sometimes those are going to be easy. Sometimes those are going to be hard, whether it be a relationship, a promotion, growing in your career, growing in your personal life, growing in your relationship, I feel like you should always be in a space to earn growth. And I don't know if you earn the growth and the length of hair, but beyond just traveling through time and waiting to get there. But if you look at your lock journey the way that I've been looking at my lock journey, you know that with time comes responsibility, with time comes expectation, and with time comes changes. And don't rush anything. Don't rush anything. Like, go through the journey, go through step by step, and just see where it takes you. And when you get there, you'll know you'll be there. You know, you won't get there and like not be there. You'll be there with time when you get to each stage of your lock journey. When you get to each length and the things that you're like begging to come forward and come to you. Be ready. Be ready and be ready to earn the growth. Yeah. So I hope you guys are all doing well. That you're all practicing growth and practicing earning that growth, and that your locks are thriving. If you're considering locking your hair, I hope you have all the tools that you need, and you know that you have all the tools that you need to be able to do the journey on your own, if that's what you're setting out to do, or if you're looking to have a loctician or someone that's doing your hair for you, that you're choosing someone who has the energy to support you in your journey, and that's it. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I hope you're all doing well. And if you have any questions about the books, I will, of course, include the titles of them in the description. And I hope to see you guys really soon.